This story begins amidst a scene of utter devastation, common as that may be in certain tales. The city is engulfed in flames, its skyline ravaged by war. In the skies, armies clash with alien forces, their weapons scorching the heavens. On the ground, colossal monsters rampage through the streets, feasting on fleeing civilians as though they were mere prey. Suddenly, a beast of unimaginable proportions emerges. Its massive form blocks out the sun, plunging the battlefield into darkness. Yet, for reasons inexplicable, its presence feels strangely familiar, almost comforting. Our protagonist steps forward, drawn to this towering entity as though peering into a mirror. He senses that he and this gargantuan creature are somehow one and the same. Without hesitation, the colossal beast turns on the encroaching monsters and releases a devastating energy beam from its maw, an attack reminiscent of Godzilla's legendary breath. Witnessing this display, the terrified humans cowering below feel an unexpected surge of hope. They know that something this powerful is now on their side. From atop the city's ruins, our protagonist understands that, in time, the world will revere him as a deity, a savior who commands this awe-inspiring creature. Humanity's hope rests with him. Yet this extraordinary destiny did not arise overnight. Only a few months earlier, the news had been filled with bizarre events. On June the 2nd, 2224, Ning City Zoo was reportedly attacked by a serpent over 100 meters in length, its species unknown to experts. Around the same time, several citizens captured video of a whale-like colossus drifting through the northern skies, igniting widespread alarm. Internationally wanted criminals had also surfaced in Ning City. All of this breaking news played on a television in a quiet room, where our protagonist, Chen Chu, lay unconscious and bleeding atop a table. Curiously, Chen could see himself lying there, as though he were detached from his body. Puzzled, he turned to face a nearby mirror, only to encounter an even greater shock. He now appeared as a sea iguana. Chen Chu, a sophomore at Ning University who preferred renting a place off campus to avoid dorm life, had always been fascinated by reptiles and amphibians, drawn to their vibrant coloration. That very day, he had visited his usual pet store, intrigued by a new batch of exotic creatures. Among them was a sea iguana, known for its generally docile disposition. But fate took a sudden turn. The moment the iguana was set free, it shattered its enclosure and sank its teeth into Chen's hand, causing him excruciating pain. Acting on instinct, Chen struck the iguana's head with his phone. Startled, the creature released its grip, but not before knocking the phone back into Chen's head with its tail. In that strange, shared moment, both human and iguana lost consciousness. When Chen finally awakened, he found the sea iguana before him. Something fundamental had changed between them. To his astonishment, raising his hand prompted the iguana to mirror his movement perfectly. It was as if he could control the creature's body as easily as his own arm. He grinned, considering that this might be his so-called golden finger, the special ability that so often heralds a hero's journey. But as he reflected further, a wave of disappointment settled in. Others who acquire such gifts often become world-shaking villains or transcendent beings. Meanwhile, he was saddled with a modest lizard. As he brooded, both his stomach and the iguana's rumbled in unison. Chen realized he had been unconscious all day and was now desperately hungry. He wondered what a sea iguana might eat. The curious reptile clambered onto his hand as he contemplated. Reasoning that a carnivorous lizard would likely enjoy meat, Chen retrieved a steak from his refrigerator and prepared it to a perfect medium rare. The iguana's eyes gleamed at the sight, and it eagerly devoured the meal. Chen smiled, relieved. "I knew it," he said softly. Sea iguanas and lizards both enjoy meat. Just as the sea iguana happily tucked into its meal, a sudden system notification appeared before Chen's eyes. After finishing its meal, the system displayed a notification. Your clone has received 5 evolution points, and your constitution has increased by 0.5. Chen was stunned. Before he could fully comprehend what was happening, a comprehensive status window appeared before him, his very own system panel. He examined the details carefully. Chen's current status indicated that he was at level 0 Bach, with a constitution of 8.5 and a spirit of 12 less. He possessed a Bao mind control talent, as well as external aura and key perception hurries. Traits, both at the beginner level with How 1000 hard experience. His skill set included Extremities Boxing, beginner 48 points, Stepping Cloud Jump, beginner 66 points, and Springing Leg, beginner 39 points. Furthermore, he had a single clone, the sea iguana. Its evolution had yet to begin, requiring 200 points for the first stage, and currently holding 5 points gained from the meal. Chen was astonished, unsure if this system was the true nature of his newfound abilities. He focused on his displayed skills, and this brought back memories of his past. During his childhood, Chen's father had rigorously trained him in martial arts. His father would say that if Chen only practiced the forms without understanding the fundamentals, he would achieve nothing. The strength had to come from his feet, rise through his thighs, and center in his abdomen. These training sessions lasted 10 to 12 hours a day, exhausting Chen's young body. Whenever Chen asked to rest, his father refused, insisting that giving up halfway was cowardly, and Chen never wanted to be a coward. Day after day, Chen ran until he collapsed, and even when he fell or got hurt, his father never helped him up. He only reminded Chen that no one else would assist him when he grew older. Then, one day when Chen was 10, his father handed him a box, their entire savings, saying he had to embark on a long journey. Chen had to walk his own path from then on. That day, for the first time, his father gently patted his head and reminded him never to neglect his martial arts training. Someday, when strong enough, Chen would see the world's other side. Chen asked how he might find his father again, but his father only said that once Chen reached the rank of Grandmaster, though by then he himself might no longer be around. With that, his father left and never returned. A decade passed since that day, and recalling these memories made Chen emotional. He looked at an old photograph of his parents, feeling the weight of the time that had slipped by. While he was lost in thought, the sea iguana had finished every scrap of steak. Chen marveled at how quickly the creature ate. After it finished, its body began glowing a faint red, and to Chen's surprise, the iguana appeared slightly larger. Checking the status window, he saw that the sea iguana's evolution points had increased to 15. This revelation astonished Chen. The iguana had gained 10 points from a single meal. As he tried to understand the system's mechanics, something else caught his eye. Glancing into a mirror, Chen noticed that his own physique had changed dramatically. He now sported defined 8-pack abs, something he certainly did not have before. It dawned on him that the iguana's gains were somehow transferring to him as well. Chen looked at the sea iguana, imagining its potential. If it could evolve after amassing more points, perhaps it could eventually transform into the colossal behemoth from his dreams. The thought excited him. With the help of this system, he could truly become a martial arts grandmaster, just as his father had urged him all those years ago. The following day at the marketplace, Chen purchased 10 pounds of prime, boneless beef and 20 pounds of lean, boneless pork. After scanning the QR code to pay, he loaded the supplies into the back of his car, reasoning that it would be enough for the next few days. Wasting no time, he headed straight back to his apartment. There, Chen showcased his culinary skills, preparing an array of exquisite dishes for the sea iguana. The creature's eyes lit up at the sight of the feast, and it devoured every plate in mere seconds. Establishing a mental link with the iguana, Chen discovered that while it enjoyed the pork, it preferred the beef's flavor. Disconnecting from the link, Chen felt slightly fatigued by the brief connection. Stretching, he remarked, "A bit more cumin would improve that beef dish. I'll remember that next time." After eating, the sea iguana took a nap, wearing its sunglasses in a carefree manner. Meanwhile, Chen proceeded to his martial arts room to train. He struck the punching bag with all his strength, deforming it significantly. A system notification informed him that his extremities boxing skill had gained 5 experience points. Chen smiled, pleased that both his constitution and training efficiency had improved. Over the course of 2 days, his rigorous practice destroyed 2 punching bags, and the third didn't fare much better. Although fatigued, he relished the feeling of becoming stronger simply by working hard. Before ending his session, Chen delivered a powerful kick that broke the chains holding the bag, sending it flying. After only 3 days of training, his attributes had grown considerably. Extremities, boxing, advanced to the intermediate level, and both stepping cloud jump and springing leg had gained additional strength. Furthermore, his sea iguana clone had accumulated 195 evolution points, just 5 points short of its first evolution. Examining his status window, Chen noted with satisfaction, from a traditional martial arts perspective, I should be at the peak of the Ming realm now. He recalled his father's teachings. Martial arts were divided into 3 realms: Ming, Dark, and Transformation. A Ming realm peak practitioner could easily handle 10 foes alone, while those who reached the Dark realm ranked among first-rate experts, capable of defeating 100 opponents. They often belonged to legendary families. The rarest were Transformation realm masters, grandmasters recorded in ancient texts, rumored to possess unbreakable bodies. Chen remembered a conversation from his youth. He had asked his father which realm he had reached. His father admitted to having briefly entered the Dark realm, though his demeanor darkened at the memory. Young Chen, unaware of his father's pain, asked if he was from one of those legendary families. Shocked, his father simply replied that he was just from Luotuan, and said no more. Back in the present, afternoon sunlight streamed into the apartment. Chen left the martial arts room and found the sea iguana sprawled on the sofa. It had grown noticeably over the past 3 days, and now only needed 5 more points to evolve. "One more meal, and you'll be ready to evolve," Chen said, hoping not to be disappointed by the results. He prepared another lavish spread and fed it to the iguana. As the creature ate, its evolution points steadily rose, reaching 199. Eager to witness the transformation, Chen reconnected to the sea iguana. The moment its evolution points hit 200, a system notification appeared. Your clone, the sea iguana, has met the evolution requirements. Evolution will now begin. Just as the notification appeared, lightning-like energy surged through the iguana's left arm. The sudden, intense pain forced the iguana to writhe, and since Chen was still connected, he felt an identical agony in his own left hand. Both Chen and the sea iguana collapsed onto the floor, writhing in pain as the creature's body underwent its painful metamorphosis. Spines sprouted along the iguana's back, its body lengthened, and thick, protective scales spread across its skin. Driven to agony by these rapid changes, the sea iguana thrashed wildly about the room, destroying anything in its path. After a few minutes, the agony subsided. Lying on the ground, Chen was astonished by the intensity of the pain. He never imagined that evolution could hurt so severely. Slowly getting up, he caught sight of the newly evolved sea iguana, now roughly the size of a crocodile. Intrigued by its transformation, Chen wanted to test its new strength. At his command, the iguana whipped its tail at a punching bag. The force of its strike caused the bag to explode, scattering fragments across the room. Chen nodded, impressed by the iguana's extraordinary new power. Simultaneously, he checked his status window and discovered that his own attributes had increased again. His constitution had doubled. His spirit had risen by 2 points, and his external aura and chi perception had both grown stronger. After completing its first evolution, the sea iguana now required 1,000 evolution points for the next stage. Surveying his status window, Chen was both surprised and contemplative. He hadn't expected that the clone's evolution would so directly enhance his own physique and abilities. Was his current improvement merely because he was initially weak, or would his constitution always double after each evolution? If it was the latter, it would be truly terrifying. By traditional martial arts standards, Chen realized he had just entered the Dark Realm. No small achievement. He activated the traits that allowed him to project external energy, marveling at the red aura emanating from his body. He was now officially a martial arts expert. From analyzing this energy, Chen concluded that with training, achieving about 100 skill experience points per day was his upper limit. Since the improvements were mirrored, he would need to rely on the sea iguana to push himself further. Re-establishing his mental connection with the creature, he found that when he unleashed his external energy, the iguana did the same. Chen was astonished. The iguana could replicate even his aura. Suddenly, the iguana grew alert, directing its gaze toward the main door. Someone was knocking. Chen hadn't expected a visitor. He deactivated his aura and cautiously opened the door to find a muscular man who looked quite angry, at least initially. The moment the man saw Chen, however, he began trembling. Even though Chen had withdrawn his energy, the lingering presence and faint aura had rattled the visitor. Trying to appear friendly, the muscular man complained about noise upstairs and asked if Chen was undergoing renovations. Chen feigned ignorance and apologized, saying there were no renovations, only some training sessions that apparently made more noise than he realized. Hearing that all the commotion was merely Chen's training, the man grew even more fearful. From behind Chen, he glimpsed the room's interior, which looked as if it had been hit by an earthquake. Everything inside smashed beyond recognition. Swallowing hard, the man realized it would be unwise to provoke Chen any further. He quickly excused himself, asking only if Chen could choose a quieter training method next time. Chen apologized again and agreed to adjust. The man thanked him and hurried into the elevator, desperate to escape. Once the stranger left, the sea iguana emerged from hiding. It had stayed concealed at Chen's command. Chen smiled, relieved that the situation had been resolved peacefully, and aware that he needed to be more careful in the future. After confirming that everything was in order and that the muscular stranger had not discovered the sea iguana, Chen closed the door. Glancing at his now crocodile-sized clone, he realized that keeping such a large creature indoors was no longer feasible. It was time to release it into the sea. Chen drove to the nearest beach, ensuring that the area was deserted before opening the car door to let the sea iguana out. Although it was a sea iguana, this was its first time experiencing the ocean in reality. Establishing a mental link, Chen guided the iguana's body into the water. Once submerged, Chen activated his energy sense. Within a 10-meter radius, he could discern countless marine creatures. As he explored this underwater world, he spotted a 5-eyed fish swimming nearby. Shocked by its bizarre appearance, Chen decided to make it his first prey. Stealthily closing in, he launched an attack. Startled, the mutant fish darted into a hole on the ocean floor. Without hesitation, Chen followed. When the fish suddenly attempted a surprise counterattack, Chen struck first, sinking the iguana's sharp teeth into the fish's stomach. After killing and devouring it, a system notification informed Chen that his clone had gained 10 evolution points, and Chen's own physique had increased by 1. Chen was pleasantly surprised. Since the iguana's evolution, a normal meal would yield only 1 evolution point, yet this mutated fish had provided 10. It confirmed his suspicions that the world, with recent unsettling news, was far from peaceful. As he continued to roam, he encountered a 10-eyed fish, defeated it, and earned more evolution points. After several hours of hunting, Chen received a system message stating that his clone had reached the daily cap of 100 evolution points and could not gain more that day. He was amazed by the underwater scene he witnessed through the iguana's eyes. What appeared cold and dark at night to humans was actually vibrant and full of life to his clone. Although amphibious, the iguana still relied on lungs to breathe and needed to resurface occasionally. During his exploration, Chen discovered a large fissure in the ocean floor, leading to an underwater cave filled with air. He decided to let the iguana rest there. Disconnecting his mental link, Chen concluded, "The clone is settled now. Time for me to head back." On his drive home, Chen's attention was suddenly drawn to a solitary house in the middle of a forest. He was surprised anyone would live there. Just as he was about to pass by, he heard a distant plea for help. Relying on his enhanced hearing, he realized something was amiss. To avoid alerting any potential wrongdoers, he continued driving, pretending not to have noticed. This caution proved wise. Inside the house, 2 thugs, one bald and one with blue hair, were watching Chen's car closely. They had kidnapped a girl whose screams Chen had heard. A 3rd thug with black hair was inside, struggling to keep the victim quiet. The bald thug kicked the black-haired one, scolding him, "I told you to watch her. Didn't you notice the cloth fell out of her mouth?" The black-haired thug defended himself. "It's pitch dark out here. How could I have noticed when we dragged her in?" The bald thug grudgingly acknowledged that it wasn't entirely his subordinate's fault. Unbeknownst to them, Chen had overheard the call for help and taken note. While he continued on his way, his mind was already strategizing how to handle this dire situation. The black-haired thug shoved a cloth back into the girl's mouth, threatening her to keep quiet, or else he would let his companions enjoy themselves that night. The girl, terrified and helpless, had no idea that her savior had already arrived. Chen approached the house on foot, ensuring that the thugs wouldn't be alerted by a vehicle. He activated his energy sense, which worked like an X-ray vision, allowing him to see inside the house and count how many people were present. He observed 2 thugs drinking inside, a girl tied up with ropes, and another thug standing by the main door, snacking and busy on his phone. From the scene, Chen realized this was likely a kidnapping or human trafficking situation. There were 3 men total, and 2 of them were armed with knives. Chen decided he must incapacitate them within a minute. Gathering all his energy, he smashed through the front door. Startled, the thugs drew their knives, but Chen gave them no chance to strike. He immediately kicked the black-haired thug in the stomach, sending him flying into a wall. The bald thug, cursing, leaped to attack Chen from behind. Chen spun around at lightning speed and struck the bald thug's chest with his elbow. The force of the blow shattered the thug's ribs and sent him hurtling backwards. The third thug, the blue-haired one called Ning Fu, caught the bald thug before he could hit the ground, telling him to catch his breath. Ning Fu then stepped forward, adopting a martial arts stance and announcing his technique as Yue Wang Fist. He asked Chen to show him his own style. Chen took up the posture of the martial art his father had taught him, declaring it as Luo Tuan 8 Extremities Boxing. Their battle commenced. Ning Fu launched the first move of Yue Wang Fist, Tou Lu Fist, aiming at Chen's face. Chen easily blocked the punch and pulled Ning Fu closer, attempting a face kick. Ning Fu blocked the kick with his leg and countered with Yue Wang Fist's second move, Two Horses Joined Tang, landing a solid punch to Chen's face. Chen felt the strike's power and realized Ning Fu was no ordinary thug. As Chen staggered, Ning Fu seemed confident, but Chen managed to keep his footing, and now Ning Fu was within his range. Surprised that Chen was still standing, Ning Fu hesitated momentarily. Seizing the opportunity, Chen unleashed the 8 Extremities Boxing's Iron Mountain Slam technique with his shoulder. The tremendous impact sent Ning Fu crashing to the ground. Yet, lying there, Ning Fu grinned, finding the situation intriguing. He stood up, admitting he never expected to meet a true Luotuan 8 Extremities disciple after coming down from the mountain. Ning Fu praised the Iron Mountain Slam, saying it deserved its reputation. Chen, however, shook his head, calling it a shame that a Yue Wang Fist practitioner had fallen to such a crooked path. Ning Fu sneered, mocking Chen's high-minded attitude. "You're just a student who doesn't know better," he spat. "Out in the real world, if you want to get ahead, you must do whatever it takes." With that, Ning Fu abandoned his martial techniques and attempted a dirty move, trying to jab Chen's eyes with his fingers. Chen reacted instantly, kicking Ning Fu's face and sending him sprawling. With all 3 kidnappers defeated, Chen's adrenaline subsided, and he slumped to the floor, acknowledging the danger of battles between martial artists. Ning Fu's pressure far exceeded that of any number of muscular men. Looking at his fist, Chen realized his control over his own strength was still lacking, resulting in severe injuries to his opponents. He resolved to improve his precision in the future. With the thugs disabled, the girl, still tied and gagged, tried to get Chen's attention by making muffled sounds. Chen freed her from the ropes. Terrified, she hugged him tightly. Chen comforted her, saying, "It's all right now. Don't be afraid." Grateful, but still shaken, she thanked him. Once she calmed down a bit, Chen handed her a phone and instructed her to call the police after he left. He told her to tell the police that she didn't get a good look at him and didn't know who he was. The young woman, quite beautiful, nodded and agreed not to reveal his identity. 10 minutes later, the police arrived and surrounded the entire place. Officers stormed inside, ordering the criminals to put their hands up. They were shocked to find the 3 kidnappers already down, with only the victim standing there. The scene then shifts to the security agency's police headquarters, where Officer Guanqing reported to her deputy chief. She explained that clear footprints were found on the broken door, based on the door's flight, flung 3 meters away, and the snapped axle. The force applied was at least 1,000 kilograms. Guanqing showed the deputy chief photos from the scene. 2 kidnappers had died instantly, and the third was in a vegetative state due to a severe concussion. According to the victim, Lin Rongya, her rescuer wore a mask at night, so she couldn't identify him. The deputy chief was baffled. Even top boxers at their peak only managed around 800 kilograms of force on a punching machine. Achieving over 1,000 kilograms in a real situation was unheard of. Guanqing agreed, noting this man's strength was inhuman, and given the increasingly strange events of late, nothing could be taken for granted anymore. While they were talking, a sudden thunderclap echoed above the city. The deputy chief glanced out the window and muttered, "A storm is coming." He wasn't referring to the weather, but the dark forces threatening to disrupt the city's peace. Meanwhile, after rescuing a girl, Chen drove to a lakeside, his attention drawn to a small boat anchored nearby. 3 men disembarked from the boat, 2 shirtless thugs, and a well-dressed man with black hair who exuded a businesslike demeanor. One of the thugs addressed the man as boss and complained, "We barely made 2 million from that sunken ship, and you already spent 1 million on some woman from Bald Tiger. Isn't that too extravagant?" The other thug chimed in, agreeing, "It took so long to dig up that ship, and we barely made any profit." The black-haired man scoffed and called them short-sighted. "Do you even know who that woman is?" "Money won't be an issue once we have her," he said confidently. His words brightened the thugs' moods. The boss then inquired about the shipping company setup. One thug assured him, "Don't worry, I've already arranged everything, a high-end office building, as per your request." The other thug added, "I also hired the prettiest secretaries and front desk staff through a headhunting firm. You won't be disappointed." The black-haired man smiled. "With my underwater breathing ability, we'll recover treasures from sunken ships and make as much money as we want. Stick with me, and you'll never starve." Their conversation was interrupted when something moved in the trees behind them, startling the group. The black-haired man drew a knife and shouted, "Who's there?" Chen stepped out from behind a tree and remarked, "I've seen my share of scumbags, but you're something special." Infuriated, the black-haired man lunged at Chen with his knife, shouting, "You've got a lot of nerve, but people like you don't live long." Little did he know that Chen was a martial artist. Chen focused his energy into a powerful kick, shattering the ground and sending the man flying into the air. As the man landed, Chen disarmed him with a swift blow, then delivered a crushing kick to his stomach, slamming him into a tree. The 2 remaining thugs were paralyzed with fear. One stammered, "Impossible! The boss became superhuman after awakening his power. He can easily defeat 5 men. The other added, "This isn't good. Let's get out of here." Before they could flee, Chen knocked them unconscious with precise strikes. Turning back to the black-haired man, Chen activated his mind control ability. Gazing into the man's eyes, he demanded, "What's your name and what do you do?" The man's pupils glowed purple as he replied, "My name is Zhang Changshu. I own a ship and make a living smuggling goods. A month ago, I awakened the ability to breathe underwater." Chen smirked, realizing his mind control was highly effective. Zhang continued, explaining how he raided sunken ships and sold treasures to wealthy clients. Satisfied with the information, Chen released him from control. As the effect faded, Zhang clutched his broken hand in agony and cried, "Boss, what happened to my hand?" Chen feigned ignorance, replying, "You broke it accidentally." Zhang nodded submissively. "I understand, boss." Chen recognized that the mind control had altered Zhang's perception, making him obedient. Using his ability again, Chen controlled the 2 unconscious thugs, finding it easier to dominate their weaker minds. Later, on the ship Zhang had mentioned, a man in glasses asked Zhang, "Who's this guy?" Zhang responded, "He's our boss. Show some respect." The crew greeted Chen respectfully. Zhang then instructed the glasses-wearing man to prepare a transfer contract for the ship, which was quickly completed. After signing the document, Chen instructed the injured Zhang to accompany him to the hospital. The next morning, Chen resumed his training while his sea iguana hunted in the ocean. The iguana, a natural predator, devoured numerous sea creatures, gaining evolution points. As Chen trained in the gym, he noticed his own physical strength improving, a result of the iguana's progress. He vowed to rely on both his training and his clone's evolution to grow stronger. Later that afternoon, Chen visited the office to finalize the ship transfer. Elated at the successful acquisition, he planned to send his sea iguana to explore deeper waters. Knowing that he wasn't the only person with superpowers in the world, he needed to grow stronger, especially with unknown dangers lurking in the ocean's depths. The following day, the ship ventured into the deep sea for fishing. 2 of Zhang's former thugs, now under Chen's control, managed the nets. One commented, "There's barely any fish lately." The other speculated, "Maybe there's a school of big fish, or sharks, down there." LR sharks often move in groups, and even killer whales have to be cautious around them. Smaller fish instinctively flee from their presence. Beneath a nearby ship, a group of great white sharks roamed the deep waters. Chen's sea iguana, trailing the ship into deeper seas, soon encountered the sharks. The moment they spotted the sea iguana, the sharks launched an attack. One of the great whites clamped its jaws around the iguana, attempting to devour it. However, as soon as it bit down, the iguana raised its spikes, piercing the shark fatally. Seeing this, the other sharks scattered in fear. The sea iguana began devouring the dead shark's body, gaining 10 evolution points. Chen, connected to the iguana and sharing its senses, tasted the shark meat himself and found it surprisingly tender. After finishing the shark, Chen received a system notification. His clone had met the evolution requirement. He could now choose to evolve the sea iguana. Slightly surprised but eager, Chen confirmed the evolution. The iguana surfaced from the water, and its transformation began. Lightning coursed through its body as it writhed in pain. Simultaneously, in the gym, Chen felt the same excruciating pain and collapsed. Opening his stats window, Chen realized he had leveled up to level 1. His constitution increased to 130, and his spirit rose to 38. His beginner traits, external aura and chi perception, now had 280 experience points. Skills like 8 extremities, boxing, stepping cloud jump, and tan leg technique had also advanced, each reaching intermediate levels with over 290 experience points. The sea iguana evolved into a scale-armored, spiny lizard, a newborn ferocious beast, striving to become a beast lord. It had undergone 2 evolutions, and now required 5,000 points for the next transformation. It also gained the ability Water Affinity. Chen's own body became more muscular, and his constitution was now 13 times that of an average person. He had achieved a level equivalent to the Dark Realm's great success in ancient martial arts. However, Chen was slightly disappointed that his constitution didn't double like before. He deduced it was due to his higher base stats now. Curious about the iguana's new ability, Water Affinity, Chen connected to it and observed its enhanced physique. Its body had grown significantly larger, weighing 4 to 5 tons, with a bone density far superior to before. Its claws were now as tough as steel, and its explosive strength had doubled. Swimming speeds reached an incredible 70 kilometers per hour, faster than many large ships. Chen concluded that Water Affinity was responsible for its streamlined swimming and reduced water resistance. The next day, Chen contacted the Glasses guy to inquire about recent treasure hunting activities. The man reported that while a few locations of sunken ships had been identified, without Boss Zhang's underwater breathing ability, they couldn't proceed. Chen assured him, "Don't worry, I can handle that now." After reviewing the database, Chen discovered that many shallow water areas had already been explored. However, deep-sea locations still held numerous priceless treasures. He and the iguana headed 25 kilometers southeast into the Yellow Sea. Chen, now able to breathe underwater thanks to his connection with the iguana, explored the deep waters. His enhanced perception allowed him to sense his surroundings up to 20 kilometers away. Confident in his new abilities, he decided to finalize preparations before fully embarking on his treasure hunt. Later, Chen treated himself to a meal on Pedestrian Street near his home. While the meal cost over 3,000 yuan, almost a sixth of his savings, Chen remained optimistic. Soon, he would take over Boss Zhang's company and enjoy a luxurious lifestyle. For now, at least, he got a taste of wealth. On his way home, Chen noticed a girl lying unconscious on the ground, with 2 men standing over her. The scene didn't sit right with him. As a righteous man, Chen raised his voice and asked, "What are you doing?" With his growing strength and martial arts passion reignited, Chen felt confident stepping in, as long as there wasn't a real threat. The thugs turned to him angrily. One barked, "What did you just say?" The other pulled out a knife and sneered, "Kid, get lost now and I'll pretend I didn't see you." Chen didn't want to engage in a fight. His intent was simply to scare the thugs away. He released his aura, which manifested as a beast-like form invisible to the human eye, but overwhelming in pressure. The thugs froze in fear, confused by the sensation. One turned to the other and stammered, "Why does it feel like we're being stared down by a predator? Let's get out of here." Before they could flee, the woman they were harassing began to laugh, mockingly. "Are you seriously scared? Are you even real men?" she jeered. Chen frowned, wondering if the woman had lost her mind. Her provocation made the thugs reconsider their decision to leave. They exchanged glances, unwilling to let a woman think they were weak. Emboldened, one thug shouted, "There's no reason to fear him. He's just one guy." The other nodded in agreement. "Yeah, let's get him. This guy's too cocky, Chen sighed, frustrated. The situation had already been resolved, but now, thanks to the woman, a fight was unavoidable. Left with no choice, he assumed a martial arts stance. As the thugs charged, Chen delivered precise kicks to their stomachs, sending them flying. He had used only 10% of his strength. Anything more would have left them severely injured. Deciding to show mercy, he let them off with a warning. Terrified, the thugs scrambled to their feet and fled, calling Chen a demon straight out of hell. Once they were gone, the woman stood up, laughing like someone intoxicated. "You're amazing," she said, praising Chen's strength. Suspicious of her behavior, Chen wondered if she was under the influence of drugs. He immediately called the police, reporting her as a possibly compromised individual outside the Shengtang bar. While on the call, the woman approached him, teasing in a playful voice. "Why call the cops? Don't you think I'm pretty? Don't you want to take me home?" Chen ignored her, waiting for the authorities to arrive. A few minutes later, a group of officers arrived. One escorted the woman to their vehicle, while another took Chen's statement. Chen explained that he was out for a midnight snack when he encountered the situation. After thanking him, the police departed with the woman. With that matter resolved, Chen turned his focus back to his mission, locating a sunken ship. Using his connection to the giant lizard, he directed it to the coordinates provided by the glasses guy. As expected, the information was accurate. A sunken ship lay at the specified location. Activating his energy sensing ability, Chen began searching the wreckage, though his current sensing range was limited to 20 meters. Despite this limitation, he soon struck gold, literally. Among the wreckage were solid gold bars. Chen immediately instructed the glasses guy to move the ship 3 kilometers east and prepare a crate. While working, another crew member asked the glasses guy, "Besides Zhang Changshu, does anyone else on the boss's team have underwater breathing abilities?" "Stop prying into the boss's secrets," the glasses guy snapped. Once the crate was ready, the sea iguana loaded the gold bars onto it. After retrieving the loot, Chen ordered the iguana to continue exploring the wreck. Among the debris, he noticed a strange piece of metal embedded in the ship's wall. When the iguana attempted to cut it, its claws, capable of slicing through standard metal, barely left a mark. Intrigued, Chen concluded it must be a special alloy, and decided to take it back for further study. As the iguana surfaced with the alloy, a massive white snake-like fish ambushed it. The creature was enormous, with sharp teeth trying to tear into the iguana. Enraged, Chen thought, "Who do you think you are? You may be bigger, but you're no match for me." The sea iguana quickly overpowered the white fish, killing it effortlessly and devouring it. Chen smirked, noting that his clone's strength was truly unmatched in its domain. Later that night, Chen visited a deserted beach. Gazing at the rocks, he mused, "These reefs have been eroded by seawater for years, making them incredibly hard. This is the perfect place to test my strength." Clenching his fist, Chen struck a massive rock. The force of the impact reverberated through him, but thanks to his external shield absorbing most of the blow and his bone density, nearly 20 times that of a normal human, he felt only mild soreness. Smiling, Chen flexed his hand as the slight discomfort vanished almost instantly, thanks to his body's exceptional recovery abilities. "I've come a long way, but there's still much further to go," he thought, determined to keep pushing his limits. Chen continued practicing his boxing on the massive rock. After his recent evolution, his physique had surpassed a strength level of 200. Though he hadn't fully tested his capabilities, he estimated his punches now carried a force of at least 3,000 pounds, or 1.5 tons. With the enhancement from his outer energy and the precision of his 8 extremities boxing technique, Chen knew he could punch straight through a person with ease. To test his full power, Chen unleashed a punch on the rock with all his strength. The result was as expected. The massive rock shattered into pieces with a single blow. Exhausted from the intense training, Chen collapsed onto the ground, catching his breath. He trained on this empty beach because his punching bag at home wasn't durable enough to withstand his strength. The park was also out of the question. Modern technology made it too easy for someone to record him and post it online, which could lead to unwanted attention and trouble. The secluded beach was his only sanctuary to train freely without prying eyes. As Chen looked at his hands, he noticed that the scrapes from his training had already healed. He marveled at his insane recovery ability. "Just a minute of rest, and I'm already fully healed," he thought in disbelief. While examining his recovery, the sea iguana returned with the chunk of black metal it had recovered. Chen inspected the metal and noticed its irregular shape, gleaming with a metallic luster. At first glance, it didn't seem extraordinary, but when he attempted to lift it, he was stunned. It weighed close to 200 pounds. The metal was heavy, tough, and resistant to damage. Even the sea iguana's claws, which could slice through regular metal, had struggled to scratch it. Chen thought, this would be perfect for crafting a weapon. However, he knew his current skills weren't sufficient to forge a weapon worthy of the material. Setting the metal aside for now, he decided to deal with the gold bars first. Back on the ship, Chen asked the glasses guy about the loot. The glasses guy assured him that everything had been cleaned up and stored in the captain's cabin. He led Chen to the stash, where all the gold bars were neatly piled. The glasses guy, amazed at the sight, exclaimed, "I've never seen so much gold in my life! How much is this worth?" Chen examined the bars and noted that they lacked any markings, meaning they were privately minted. "We won't be able to sell these as antiques," Chen explained. The next day, after doing some research, Chen found a shop in bustling downtown that dealt in the black market. Upon entering, the receptionist greeted him warmly and asked, "Are you here to sell rings or necklaces?" Chen revealed the gold bars from his bag. "I'm selling these," he said. The receptionist, surprised by the quantity, asked him to follow her upstairs to meet the manager. The manager greeted Chen politely and asked for his name and the amount of gold he intended to sell. Chen introduced himself, opened his bag, and revealed the gold. Stunned by the sheer amount, the manager said, "We'll need to inspect the quality of these bars. Please wait a moment." While Chen waited on the sofa, the manager's staff got to work. After a thorough check, the manager returned and reported, "Your gold weighs a total of 11,250 grams. Since these bars are privately minted and not very pure, we can offer 400 yuan per gram. Does that work for you?" Chen knew privately minted gold was harder to sell and agreed to the deal. After completing the necessary paperwork, Chen received a message confirming that 4.5 million yuan had been credited to his account. As he left the shop and got into his car, Chen observed the people walking home from work or college. Reflecting on his situation, he thought, "Most people my age are still hustling through college, while I've just made millions from one adventure. It feels surreal, considering I've been poor my entire life." With his newfound wealth, Chen decided his first purchase would be a new car. His current vehicle, with its low chassis, was terrible on bumpy coastal roads. He drove straight to a luxury auto showroom, bringing the glasses guy along for advice. Together, they began looking for a suitable car for daily use. While they browsed, a black-haired man entered the showroom with a red-haired woman. Chen immediately recognized her. It was his ex-girlfriend. Back then, he had spent a fortune trying to win her over, but she abandoned him to chase wealth and status, choosing to live lavishly with rich men. The red-haired woman also spotted Chen and mocked him. Turning to her boyfriend, she said, "See that guy over there? That's the loser who used to chase after me." Her boyfriend laughed, sneering at Chen. "What's a broke college kid like you doing in a luxury car showroom?" he taunted. Hearing the black-haired boy's remarks, the glasses guy grew visibly angry and snapped, "Who are you calling broke?" Before things could escalate, Chen stopped him. "Don't waste your time on them," Chen said calmly. Seeing the glasses guy's anger, the black-haired boy smirked. "What, are we not allowed to speak the truth? Aren't you just a broke college student? This isn't a place you can afford." The red-haired girl tugged on her boyfriend's sleeve. "Don't waste time on him. Let's go look at cars." She walked over to a red luxury car and pointed it out to her boyfriend. "I want this one," she said confidently. Her boyfriend hesitated, visibly uncomfortable. The price tag on the car was astronomical, and although he liked to flaunt wealth to impress women, his spending allowance barely reached tens of thousands a month. "Let me take a closer look at it for you," he stammered, trying to buy time while inwardly panicking. Meanwhile, Chen was inspecting a white car. "This car has a high chassis and can carry heavy loads," he thought. "It meets all my needs." Turning to the saleswoman, he said, "I'll take this one. I'll pay in full." The saleswoman, surprised by his decisiveness, informed him, "This car costs 2.38 million yuan. Will you be paying by card?" Chen nodded. "Yes, I'll pay in full." Hearing this, the red-haired girl froze in shock. 238 million? She whispered to herself. Her boyfriend quickly reassured her, "He's just pretending. There's no way he has that kind of money in his account." She laughed in agreement. Back then, he could barely afford instant noodles for weeks just to chase me. Now he's pretending to buy a luxury car? Pathetic. The black-haired boy walked over to Chen, sneering. There's no need to put on a show, buddy. It'll only be embarrassing when your card gets declined. The glasses guy fired back. Why don't you mind your own business? If Chen can afford the car, what will you do? Smirking, the black-haired boy replied, if he can afford it, I'll call him Dad right here. But if he can't, then he'll have to call me Dad. The glasses guy immediately accepted the deal. Deal! The red-haired girl laughed mockingly. He's bluffing, she said. There's no way he can afford it. Minutes later, the saleswoman returned with Chen's card and handed him the car keys. The car is yours now, she said politely. Chen thanked her and turned toward his ex and her boyfriend. The black-haired boy was stunned, unable to process what had just happened. The red-haired girl was equally shocked. How did Chen get so rich? She muttered, confused. The glasses guy grabbed the black-haired boy by the collar and demanded, Well, aren't you going to keep your word and call him Dad? Chen intervened, stopping the glasses guy. Let it go. Don't waste time on people like this, he said calmly. As they walked out, the glasses guy turned back and smirked. You're lucky my boss is kind. If it were up to me, you wouldn't leave without calling him Dad. Embarrassed, the black-haired boy remained silent, while the red-haired girl was left speechless. As Chen drove off in his new car, the red-haired girl chased after him, shouting, Chen, wait! Hear me out! But Chen didn't stop. Watching the scene unfold, one saleswoman commented she thought she found a rich guy, but she missed out on someone with real potential. Another agreed, adding, That's just how people are. They only regret things after they've lost them. After leaving the showroom, Chen drove to Cloud's Edge restaurant, N-City's premier spot for fine dining. Arriving in his luxury car, he was greeted respectfully by the staff. He was escorted to a private room, where a waitress handed him the menu and asked what he would like to order. Chen scanned the menu and selected several dishes, including a 5,888 yuan Boston lobster and a 7,888 yuan king crab. When the food arrived, two waitresses personally fed him the dishes. The luxurious experience brought a smile to his face. Pricey, but worth it, he mused. After cooking so many meals for my lizard, it's time to enjoy the life of luxury myself. While enjoying his meal, a notification popped up on his phone. It was a message from his college advisor, reminding students that classes would resume in a week and attendance was mandatory. Seeing the message, Chen remembered that he was still a sophomore. Opening his status window, he reviewed his current stats. Constitution, 327. Spirit, 49. Talent, mind control. Traits, external aura and chi perception. Experience points increased. Skills, 8 extremities. Boxing, stepping cloud jump, and tan leg technique. All powered up. Companion, armored spiked lizard. Evolution points, 2,160 Dakar 5,000. Looking at the status screen, Chen realized that once classes began, he would have less time for his adventures. I need to earn more money quickly to help my lizard break through to the Shadow Realm, he thought, determined to make the most of his remaining time.